Hey, Tracy here. So today we're going to take a look at Princess Diana's um, chart on the day she got married. And not only is it affecting her natal chart, but it became the natal chart for their wedding. So this was the transit setting for their marriage. So everything that was in the sky became, not only how it affected her, but affected their broader marriage theme and played out that way. So let me share the chart. Okay. So as you can see here, we've got her natal chart in the center here. The green is going to be her progressions, and um, then her orange, kind of reddish, will be the transits for that day. Um, it only does the progressions for the faster inner planets. The outer planets just progress too slowly. At that point, we start looking at solar arcs. Um, so there's different things that affect uh, someone's, chart throughout. There's transits, which is the day-to-day movements. There's progressions. And I won't get into all of that on this video. And then there's solar arcs. So she's got so much going on that I obviously cannot get into everything, but we'll talk a little bit about what was going on evolutionary for her that day, because really that marriage to him really did set off a soul path for her to free herself. It really, I think, was a karmic setup and blueprint for her soul. And, she could have easily, gone the path she did. We all have choices every moment, every day. Or, if she had really leaned into that North Node, she really could have, stopped the wedding and really owned that self. But, uh, most of us can't do that. We have to grow into what we're becoming. And so this really kind of set it off to fuel that point. And the chart, really applied such tension in her own, or the marriage chart really applied such tension in her own natal chart that, it really became a catalyst for her to lean into that evolutionary goal that she came, that her soul came for. So we'll start with, so her progressed Mercury is conjunct her sun. As you can see, her natal Mercury is already, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Her natal Mercury is already conjunct her sun, but her natal Mercury is retrograde. So everything with Mercury, how she perceives, how she communicates, she internalized it first before speaking it out. Some people just really speak their mind and speak their truth and, sometimes just kind of vomit things out. She did not do that. It was an internalized process to, edit what she said, how she said it. Um, so the progressed Mercury, it had retrograded back and then it stationed direct and it went forward. So by the time she was married at 20 years old, it was beginning to make that conjunction to her natal sun. So really, she was starting to move into, how she was wanting to communicate, how the planets were asking her to communicate were aligned with that, um, her ego, her sun. And it's in Cancer, how are you healing? What are you saying? How are you communicating with others? Are you, one thing with the great mother of Cancer, they can give too much. They can overextend themselves in the sake of, and it's also the seventh house, which is tied in with Libra, which is the seventh sign. So it's really overextending oneself in relationships, giving too much of their power. So it was really Mercury was wanting to fuse with her sun and how she communicate, you know, be the same as who she thought she was. But as you can see, um, at, during that wedding, she really leaned into the shadow side of her, um, of those signs, because, instead of communicating, hey, things aren't, I'm not happy, you're not happy, things are not, no, 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 at 20, she's, in the role she was in, it was really hard to say that. But instead of being able to say that, she really leaned into the, shadow side and kind of put that hermit crab, shield around her to protect herself. And her Aquarian moon rules Cancer. Um, so she really, detached. And I imagine, obviously, I don't know, and I can't talk to her, but I imagine she really felt like she was kind of watching her life play out, and she wasn't truly living her life. But, you know, between the bulimic, she really tried to protect herself and really quieted, I'm going and edited what she really wanted to say versus what she felt she could say. Um, so that pressure was going to stay with her through that entire marriage, being able to really want to communicate who she felt she was. That was locked into their wedding. And then her progressed sun is opposing, her progressed sun is up here at 28 degrees of Cancer. And it's opposing that Saturn in the first house. So, you know, the progressed sun is how we progress through life. So she started out at 9 degrees, it's moved to 28 before it goes to Leo, and then she's really trying to start shining. So it's really, who is she within a partnership framework, the seventh house, um, versus being rather held back and restricted in the first house. Saturn is the traditions, what traditions are holding her back from being who she is. Um, there's just that tension of trying to manage um, the editing and the structure and the wall that she felt with being herself, um, and really kind of letting her light shine and be who she wanted to within that partnership, and expression of self within the marriage and within other people and things like that. And then you've also got Saturn up here. This is the transiting Saturn. Um, so it's the same for everybody day by day. So you've got transiting Saturn up here, and it is in Libra, which is ruled by this Venus, which was her skip step. Um, and it's in the ninth house. The ninth house is religion, philosophy. It has ties with Sagittarius, which is the ninth sign. It's tied in with Jupiter, things like that. So you've got up here the tradition is ruling, and Libra is also like contracts and marriages and merging with someone else. So you've got the contract and the merging with the tradition up here, and it's squaring her natal Mercury and Sun. So there's a lot of tension, squares or tension. So there's a lot of tension between, is this your truth? Is this your philosophy? Is this something that helps you expand and grow? Um, are you giving again too much of yourself to other people? There's a lot of seventh house themes, um, with the Libra and Cancer wants to again heal and take care of. Are you really giving too much of yourself for the sake of other people? And then, Jupiter, King of the gods, it's also royal, it expands the wedding. There was what, 750 million people that watched this wedding. It just became an event beyond her. It really just expanded. Um, so that really is kind of locking down. And again, the marriage contract is putting tension on her Sun and Mercury constantly. It's saying this is it's Saturn is the wall. I mean, it's restricting who she is and who she is trying to be in life. Um, and so she feels that, largely, I'm gonna guess consciously and heavily subconscious as well. And it also is making a trine to that natal Jupiter as well. A little bit less important than the sun, but it's also talking to Jupiter, which again, Jupiter is looking at it from what's the deeper meaning behind why we're doing this? What is the restrictions for? Jupiter's already kind of restricted over here by the natal Saturn. So there it's in communication and expanding just the mental aspects of why she's doing what she's doing and the purpose. Um, and then you've also got the progressed moon over here in Scorpio on her natal Neptune. Again, as we said in the other video, you know, Neptune is porous and it's retrograde, so she really internalized um, the deeper meaning and could really kind of feel and absorb everyone's expectations, um, which is why she didn't call off the wedding. I think she threatened to, and by that point, everybody's like, "Oh, you're the princess. You have to do this. You're on the tea towels and whatever else nonsense they told this poor girl." Um, so her moon really, really felt that. She intuitively could sense Scorpio, the real truth of the matter, that there was, that this was not low, all light and wonderful and easy marriage, but she was absorbing all of the expectations at that point that everybody was putting onto her. Um, and it really weighed on her. I mean, if you look back at what she said, he didn't show that he loved her, and he was kind of flippant and was like, whatever love is, or whatever he said, and it was arranged, and it is. We all have soul growth things, so no judgment. But all this was put into place, and again, that progressed moon is in that trine to that sun. Um, so it's really she's feeling the heaviness of taking care of other people, pleasing that, and honoring the expectations that people were putting on to her, whether she truly, at her core wanted to or not. Um, and then the main catalyst, in my opinion, would be the um, transit Uranus. So in her natal chart, as we've discussed, you've got the transit, I mean, the natal north node up here in Leo, the natal south node in Aquarius, and then you've got your conjunct planets. That is, as we mentioned in the previous video, squared by Venus, which was a skipped step in her past life. So it makes a triangle. So Venus is the outlet for those nodal aspects. Venus is the way out, because all the energy has to funnel to one side of the triangle from the opposition. Well, Uranus came over here, and it's the fourth leg to like the table. So everything's making um, basically a square at this point. So it helps balance some of that energy out. Um, and Uranus is the great liberator. It wants show your individual self. Who are you among the people? Who are you in the collective? Who are you in the crowd? It wants to free you from anything that you've been holding on to that is not yours. We get tied up with thinking that we have to be performative and that there are certain things we have to do. And Uranus comes along and shakes that up. If it's not truly for us and something that we have to do, Uranus wants to free us from that. So Uranus was over here in Scorpio in her 11th house, and it was square in that nodal axis as well as opposing that Venus. So all of that energy had a way out. Um, and the 11th house is the house of gains. It's n- community that can help you, your friend, your tribe. So, and Scorpio is also hidden. So it was a way, I believe, that things unseen were beginning to help liberate her from that nodal axis point of where she had been held back in life. Um, you know, Whatever the fifth house, whether it was her in a love affair in a past life, her partner in a secret love affair, she needed a love affair. And this 11th house, the people were going to start coming in to kind of help her free and find herself. There was just a lot of tension, and all of this is just heading up there, and Uranus is just wanting to liberate her. So she couldn't see that this marriage was going to be what pushed her up here. Um, it was what was the catalyst for her freedom, and her soul growth, and it was the balancing point to help whatever came along throughout the next few years to really help her reach that skip step and move toward this Leo energy. It just was able to talk and communicate and really kind of help her in that regard. And that Uranus is retrograde, so it was very internalized. The people that she found that were helping her, she, I would say, more intuitively knew that they were, maybe they said something, maybe they came along and were given the right words because, Uranus is electric and kind of shocks, and maybe the people that were put across her path just said things that triggered her realizing that she needed to shine and that she was worth more and that she really needed to own that aspect of her. And then you also have Pluto, which again is the Lord of the underworld, conjunct her midheaven, but it's still in the ninth house. It hasn't crossed that midheaven into the 10th house. So Pluto rules Scorpio. So it's ruling this moon and this Uranus. It's also ruling her eighth house. Um, so it's really demanding that she face her fears about pleasing other people and their expectations and really ask herself, who are you? What is your personal philosophy? Again, this is Libra. How are you sacrificing yourself for the harmony of others? Because Libra is all about, it's the scales, it wants balance, but you can give too much to someone else in the name of harmony, especially with that Cancer sun. You're really like trying to go out of your way to nurture and help please and heal and take care of people at the expense of yourself. And Pluto is forcing her, hey, who are you at your most visible? What do you want? What do you demand for your own self in relation to others so you can be equal and harmonious within that partnership. And it's again, as I mentioned, it's ruling the Scorpio moon and Uranus. So it's really who are you to the people, 10th house? How are those people helping you free yourself, 11th house? And then 8th house, how are you sharing with those people your light and your purpose and what is a way you're of service with your light? So really her, you know, and when I look at transit charts or, and dates like this, there's certain sections. So she, with different groupings that are more important. So she had six main big events that really before you start getting into the secondary, the third and fourth, she had so much going on that this was just such an important catalyst for her growth and her soul purpose. And as we can see, it really, she had a very tough time. Again, eighth house is not easy. You're going to live in the dark. I mean, you're in the muck and you feel the muck and it's really just swimming through that heaviness that you feel and the dark side of life as well to really understand who you are at a deep, deep level and feel confident to express yourself shadow and light. And as we can see, she was had all this just adoration and pedestal, all this stuff just foisted on her at such a young age. And she stumbled and fell and went up and down. And it was not an easy way to let her light shine. But she did a great job of it. She really began to share herself in a Cancerian way where she could nurture and care for people and she really like let her heart shine and share and attract. And she really, I think, did a very good job. And you could see that the marriage was a catalyst for her soul growth and everything. So wanted to kind of, take a look at that. And then I'm also going to do another little video where we talk about her um, transits at the time of her death, which are also extremely interesting and fit. I think her soul, came to do what it came to do, um, and was ready to. It was an exit. We have exit points, and I think it was, you know, it felt like it had accomplished what it had accomplished because she did not sign up for a easy life, and it was a very very hard life, and a lot of eighth house themes. So, but we'll look at that next time. If you have any questions, please feel free to, you know, post them in the comments and I'll, answer it or, do something else. And I'll try to do some more videos on exactly what progressions and solar arcs are and didn't want to get it lost into the weeds too much in this one. But okay, see you next time. Thank you. Bye.